Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's Perspectives Talk with artists Liz Williams and Al Murray of Southern Equality Studios, a program of the Campaign for Southern Equality. Today's program is generously sponsored by our friends at Brunk Auctions. We are honored to be partnering with Liz and Al as part of our current exhibition, I Am a Citizen of the World, which features their interactive projection installation, Building a Better Table, and pairing of portraits entitled You're Welcome. Liz and Al will be sitting down today to discuss how these works can be a catalyst for social change and how equity is dependent upon our shared action and empathy. If you would like to view more perspectives talks from the artists featured in this exhibition, Onikas Gaddis has recently discussed his piece, Black Mountain, and the artist Cheryl Rowland will be discussing his piece next month. You can view these and other talks at our homepage, blackmountaincollege.org, by visiting our museum from home. Thank you so much, and I will hand things over to Liz and Al.
Hi, Liz.
Hey Al, how's it going?
It's great. So when we talk about this piece, I guess this collection of pieces and multifaceted installation, there are a lot of parts of it that come up as really exciting to me. But I'm wondering when we start to talk about it, what is exciting to you? Is it the process, the form that it took, the story behind how it started?
When I think about this piece, I'm so excited that Black Mountain College Museum reached out to us, and it was great to hear that they were focusing on global citizenship. And initially, I was like, "What is that?" And so it was really a fun endeavor to kind of dive into that and see how that could relate to the community that we live in, especially since we are working with queer and trans and BIPOC members of the Asheville community as well as the South. And so it was a fun exploration to see what ideas would pop up. And I think a lot of times in my process I do a lot of throw ideas at the wall, see what sticks. And I love collaborating with you because you're able to say oh, I think that noodle is sticking right there. And I'm like, excellent. And then you're like, oh, I think I see a noodle maybe you didn't see, but why don't you throw that in as well? So it's been really great because one of the exciting aspects of this project is that I haven't done a lot of video work. And so I really was appreciative to say, oh, I think that it would be cool if we did some video work as well as the photography, which I'm more comfortable with, and you wanted to bring in a more interactive aspect with bringing about the motion sensors, which I think helps to welcome the audience members to this better table that we're trying to build. So
yeah, that's always what's exciting to me when we collaborate on something, is that I know that that we're not gonna be wanting for ideas. And so this idea of global citizenship feels very big. But really quickly, we were also in this moment where the Capitol riot had just happened. And I think both of us were kind of searching for a meaning in a lot of ways, both for this piece, but also in the world in general. And there were two things that came out. There was the article by Tremaine Lee for MSNBC that talked about the different response for white rioters at the Capitol versus black protesters in the streets, and that it comes down to a question of citizenship. And that sparked this thought to me about this is a great opportunity to give a voice to what that distinction looks like, because there's this assumption that citizenship, anybody who has it, automatically experiences the full benefits of it, and that's this white supremacist notion based on a white experience and a largely straight cisgender experience, specifically in America. And so as we were talking about this piece, it was like, oh gosh, we really need to break that open and talk about what it is to experience citizenship as somebody for whom that is not the case. So visually, yeah, what happened, it felt like, yeah, we can present all these ideas, but there's also got to be, we like the audience has to be implicated in this. We have to make it clear, especially on the heels of being so isolated. Like we've done projections during the pandemic, public large scale projections where the public could come and see them, but this felt like a moment where people have not been used to their movements in the world mattering, or not being used to seeing the cause and effect of how they are in the world, because we've been so siloed. And so it felt really important to sort of ask the audience to consider how you make change or don't. Consider how your movements affect what's happening, what you see, or they don't. So it was exciting to think through with you. And I think we had to do some creative problem solving around that too.
Yeah.
So we got to build a machine that literally a green screen machine that looped roses. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And then there were those other visual elements that came up around that too.
Yeah. When I was thinking about global citizenship, I kept revisiting the phrase "a seat at the table," and like I've been listening to like Solange's "A Seat at the Table," and then like Shirley Chisholm. She was in that. She was one of the people who were featured in Miss America. I believe that's the name of the show. And like she's a person who I believe brought up the phrase like bringing us, if there isn't a seat at the table, like bringing a seat to the table. And while I was thinking about that, I came across this really great interview that Lydia C. and Honey Simone had, where Honey brought up the idea of like, I'm tired of asking for a seat at the table. I'm ready to just tear down the table and build a new one. And so that definitely sparked the idea of building a better table. So when you see some of the visual elements in here, there's like literally tools for building a better table, because oftentimes we hear, like with citizenship, that, oh, everybody's a citizen all on the same playing field. But no, actually, citizenship is the same thing, and we're not always welcomed. So I think that with the history of all the things that the queer and trans community have brought, and especially like the queer BIPOC community and trans community, we don't get a lot of credit and respect and solidarity with all the things that we've done in the past. Like we've literally built the schools, we've built the White House, we've built this economy, and so many other important parts of this country, much less all the things that help affect the rest of the world. So I definitely wanted to have the people who are featured in this be people who are a part of the community that is often left invisible. Yeah. And I was excited to also like bring in the elements of the roses that we were working with the green screen with, because there's also the phrase that I've been hearing, that's give us our roses while we're still here. So I think there's a lot of urgency still to keep working towards creating a better place, be it locally or globally. Like it's all connected. Everything has a ripple effect. And with, the uprising, the awakening, everything that's happened in the summer, there's been kind of like a quietness that's going on. Like you don't see as many people in the streets, and there's still the need to keep pushing forward. Like the work is not done.
One of the things that we talked about really representing here was responding to the erasure of people who, the voices and the experiences of people who had been such integral parts of movements for positive change, specifically in the U.S., like queer people, like trans folks, like BIPOC folks. And one of the things in your work that I think so gently and like playfully invites people to check themselves is humor. And so we were talking about what the models would wear, and I remember us arriving on this idea of "you're welcome," that both suggests, "Hey, come join us here. Like this is an invitation," but also, "Hey, I've done something for you, and I need you to acknowledge that." So there's this, I think, gentle play there that invites people to also ask what is being presented to them. And that idea of playfulness is important. It's part of the interactive element of this. Like you get to explore the piece, and I think that's something that that in the rest of the show here comes across too. That there's like this kind of a kinship of playfulness, in Black Mountain College artists and the exploration that happened there. I know that's something that I'm really attracted to in some of the pieces I see, is like you watch people just playing, just exploring, and just checking the edges of things. So that's a tone in this that felt like it made it possible to explore these really deep, really troubling concepts and ask people to participate in that with us in a way that didn't feel harmful. And that's another thing that felt important, was to not only not cause harm, but to celebrate joy, that there is joy in this process. There's joy in having these conversations. And that's where like I don't know if you want to speak to how that's represented here, how you felt about that.
Oh, definitely. So, some of the aspects of the pieces I'm really excited about includes these portraits that I have of Sage Jean and Quay Mills, and they're literally like levitating in these spaces because this is like a sacred position that we all have, and at this table, and this invitation by this community member is awesome, and just want to show that our people should be lifted up, because that is like an example of Black joy. Just not always, we have so many things that are constantly telling us like you're an other, you should feel oppressed, and we are always constantly pushing against that. That's why we are still here. And I wanted to show that there is joy in our existence. And I wanted to bring that vision literally with them levitating and having these little ethereal elements surrounding them, because that's one of the awesome things about the BIPOC community, about the Black community, is that we're able to create so much amazing change, and we're doing it by saying things that are incredibly somber, but we're also finding ways to bring in play, bring in joy, because it's all connected with being effective with our activism and existence.
Activism was also a major component of when we were talking through, okay, what elements are going to be in all this, because this could get, there's a lot here. And it felt really important, especially as we were finishing this piece up, or this, I guess, the series of pieces, to really ask, what's the experience of the audience here, and what's missing? And the next step was like, okay, we're making it clear that if you're looking for, like, you've learned about these issues, if you're looking for something to do, well, just ask folks. We have their words right here to tell you, from queer and BIPOC folks, this is what people want. So what? Now what? Mm-hmm. And the response is, okay, well, here's some books, which sort of reiterates that idea that the wisdom to know what to do is in us. Mm-hmm. We have the capacity. You just have to check in with us about it. And so here's some books.
Here's a list.
Here's a list. And so related to the list that actually you got from people, what was it that you asked people specifically?
So the prompt that brought about the calls to action was basically, what would you request if you were asking people to come to this better table? And I got all of these great answers, and a lot of people, like, they had a lot of awesome viewpoints, and some were a little more serious, and others were great. Like, before you ask, Google it.
Yeah,
Which is so important before you just say, oh, here's a Black person, oh, here's a Latinx person, what can I do? Like, we have these aids, so you don't have to put anybody, including yourself, in this awkward position.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have this great resource guide that's available for people to take with them. It has a QR code, it has a website that touches upon going further into these calls for action.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all these great local orgs that are doing the work to help build a better table, and you can partake in these orgs in so many different ways.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that element, having a takeaway, because you cannot take these books home.
You can't take them.
Please don't take them home. You can write down the books and can go and purchase them or check them out at one of our many wonderful libraries.
Yeah.
And I kind of forgot where I was going with this, but
You're talking about activism.
Yeah. And I also want to go back to getting people more engaged with being an active audience member, seeing this call to action. That's one of the elements that I was really excited about with the motion sensors, because that says, oh, I am actually a part of this piece. I have this literal, beautiful bench that's welcoming to this table, and I feel as though it's more engaging than just like seeing the art and being like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'll just keep walking by. So I'm glad that this is like kind of situated here, so it welcomes people to this table, and it also opens up. Maybe I can like take my time with really taking in this installation as well as all the other pieces, taking my time reading the backgrounds behind all of these pieces, and the wonderful, amazing people who are part of the Black Mountain College Museum community, who have helped in so many different ways informing the global citizenship of the world, much less us. I mean, I'm just so excited to be a part of a little piece of this legacy.
Yeah.
It's really fun to kind of feel like we're time traveling
Yeah.
just in this one space.
Yeah, that was something else that once this found a home here, it felt like we weren't just talking about global citizenship in a geographic way, or in like a way that we're relating to all things as a whole, but in a like a time, in the way that time, we're reaching back into history and something that's very much informing our present. And here we're really trying to move into the future. And so there's this wonderful play of time in the show that I also feel like is so important in the actions that people take. So another aspect of this, as we think through, like, what's the effect of this? What does this really do beyond the experience of somebody in the space? Are these carbon copy notes that people can make about how do you aspire to build a better table? So here's the information. Here's acknowledging the wisdom from which it can come, and giving people credit where credit is due. Here's acknowledging the power we all have to affect change, or not. Here's some resources, and then here's the opportunity to tell us what you're going to do and be witnessed telling us that. I think viewers also, this can feel like a very solo individual experience. And by putting your words and responding to this piece on a wall that then other people can see, like, you're part of a global experience in another way. And that felt really important. That felt like this piece was meant to inspire empathy, not just for the people in it or the queer, trans, BIPOC folks it's for and about, but for people who may be questioning, how have I contributed to white supremacy, or how have I not shown up? And that empathy is a central part to what we do at the Campaign for Southern Equality, and is a central part for why the Southern Equality Studios, which is a program of Campaign for Southern Equality, why that even exists. Because the arts, creativity, storytelling, personal narratives. That's how we get to know each other. I feel like people get to know us by how we create and how we collaborate. People get to know folks of other identities on a larger scale by the narratives we create. And something that Southern Equality Studios has been doing has been helping to tell this different story about the South that people might not know because of the way trans, queer, BIPOC artists have been silenced and erased. And so that also feels like very much part of this, that this is really aligned with what we've hoped to do for Southern Equality Studios. And I think like the piece by Cheryl Rowland, being close by, humanizes issues in such a way that these are really complex topics and we can intellectualize them all day, but when you actually hear someone's story, when you see someone's words, when you know they came directly from someone's hand, that gives voice in a way that it's impossible to deny the humanity of the person behind it. And that also feels really important here.
Yes. I think that this piece is so incredible, and I love that it's also interactive and it brings about accountability, and I think it ties really well with bringing accountability with this interactive piece. With the carbon paper, you write down what you aspire to do to build this better table, and on the bottom sheet you leave the copy on the wall, and that's your promise to the community. And I really love that Southern Equality Studios, that we've worked to try to bring accountability to our activism and also inspiring other people to be active in protest. For instance, one of the ways that we've tried to build community and inspire activism is through like the queer artist meetups that we have weekly, and it's just been really incredible because we are a community that is constantly pushed to the margins, to the point where when we first started up Southern Equality Studios, we didn't even know really any queer artists, which is a shame. So
I was embarrassed to admit that to you. I was like, hey, help me.
Yeah, I was
please.
like, I know a few people from my job, like a customer or two.
Yeah.
So I was really excited with the meetups that we've been having, that it's not just like lip service people meeting virtually, but we're like actually like taking to the streets and organizing and like helping each other with our different methods and modes of activism, which has been incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
Versus like just the first idea of like, we don't know any queer artists. Now we know all these artists like around the world, which is just absolutely incredible. Like we have people in Pittsburgh, we have people in Lima, and it just keeps growing and rotating. And people are like collaborating via like Zoom on projects that speak on trans youth, and it's been really exciting with that aspect of activism. And I'm excited to see how this will inform our future activism. And I'm really also, I want to go back to the point that you're speaking on with recognizing our humanity and the multifaceted aspects of existing and taking on these issues, because another thing that's really great about Campaign for Southern Equality is that a lot of people who protest, like they kind of just go towards like the preach at you, and these are just dire things that are happening, like you need to recognize that, and that is incredibly important. But there's also an importance in bringing hope to activism, so you look forward to the future even more. So I'm hoping that this installation brings about hope for everybody, especially with the accountability and like being inspired by other people. And I'm so excited that people are doing it, because I was like, oh, I hope this isn't too hokey. So I'm so thrilled that people are being inspired by what's written, what's seen here, and it's really cool to be like, yo, like we're taking up this space because we won't be silenced. We're still going to continue to exist, and in this space, we want you to be a part of it and not give up. So I've been pretty stoked about this.